Akle. Cheryl, it's great to see you again. I'm going to jump straight in with Canada by Richard Ford. This is being described as his masterpiece. He, of course, won the Pulitzer Prize for Independence Day, wrote The Sports Writer. This latest novel is set in 1960 in a Midwestern Air Force town called Great Falls, Montana, where 15-year-old Dell and his family of a military family are living. And now Dell and his twin sister, his mother Neva, who's a school teacher, his father, who's an ex-bomber pilot, and now a out-of-work aircraft engineer who gets himself into some financial trouble. The book opens with this great line: "First, I'll tell you about the robbery that our parents committed, then about the murders which happened later." So immediately I thought, fantastic, this is going to be great, a real plot book, which it isn't at all.
No.
It's a book where Dell, who's the narrator, does a lot of thinking, and then when he's finished doing that, he does a lot more thinking. I felt like I should love it, but it was.
I loved it. It was reminiscent for me of Jonathan Franzen, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I loved his writing style. I love character stories. And I liked Dell's voice, and I felt so sorry for those kids.
The voice of Dell is so deftly written. Yeah. He's putting together the story of his parents through the chronicle that his mother writes in jail. Yeah. And newspaper clippings, and from fragments of his own memory. And so all of those sources are unreliable. So what happened, why it happened, and how it happened, you kind of... I was right there with the journey.
Oh, I was there with him right throughout. I thought about the responsibility of parenting, the responsibility of family.
Yeah. It was
so
that.
stark.
Stark is a great word for it. It was that, but it was also, for me, the book has got a philosophical underpinning, which is about how do you interpret identity in life, and it's about feeling rather than thinking.
He's trying to piece together what it was that made him what he is, and
it is a marvellous book.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one, it's my kind of book, actually.
Oh,
I mean, you know, that kind of character.
Good. Yeah. I'd never read Ford before this.
A book about family.
And I'd really wanted to. I'm still not sure what I think about it.
I've read The Sports Writer. I really like Richard Ford. Around the time of reading Richard Ford, I'd read many other... I mean, they call it dirty realism, isn't it? The
Raymond Carver.
Raymond Carver. I read quite a lot of it at the time. I wasn't crazy about The Sports Writer, but he brought me back home on this one. I liked
me too.
it.
I was a little bit...
I liked the characters a whole lot more.
Oh, me too, yeah. I just was...
Well, I'm glad we liked it.
I'm glad.
If I could be any character, I'd be Frodo from Lord of the Rings, because he goes on such an amazing adventure and it's such a colourful experience.
Alice from Alice in Wonderland. The idea of eating to become smaller is an attractive paradox.
I would really like to be in Malinun's book because her lead character, Detective Emmanuel Cooper, really does need a woman to heal his wounded, broken heart, and I think I could do it.
Now, talking about hearts and love, I've been reading My 100 Lovers by Susan Johnson. I mean, really, this, I found this just to be the most beautiful read. It's about Deborah, who's just turning 50, and she's reflecting on her life. We get the story of her life through kind of vignettes of incidences of love. When this book was pitched to me, it was pitched to me like The Bride Stripped Bare. Remember that by Nikki Gemmell? It's not like that at all. I mean, I thought that book was broody and self-indulgent. This is completely the opposite. And when you realise that her lovers aren't necessarily lovers, so to speak, she talks about the love of animals, the love of food, the love of chocolate, the croissant.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. In actual fact, I loved it.
I mean,
you didn't love it?
Yeah, well,
I didn't have any trouble reading it. I don't think it's for me.
No,
it is romantic.
And you're not 50 and you're not female.
No, well, look...
I get
I'm
that.
not female yet either, but I loved it. But there was a richness in the poetry and there's curly cues of imagery.
She does write beautifully.
I thought it was very intimate and uncomfortably so. She mentions in one chapter these sort of skin tags she has around her neck.
Yes, that her daughter calls sultanas.
Sultanas.
No,
I couldn't come at it.
You didn't like any bit of it.
It made me feel very uncomfortable.
But do you think it was because it was so real?
Probably.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I kind of liked about it is because it's very francophile, is it had little tastes of Marguerite Duras in there, and I love that.
It was a lot more dimensional than I
Yes.
thought it was going to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just thought, oh, it's going to be really one-dimensional. The sex is going to be too much for me, is what I thought, really.
Right.
But it wasn't about that at all.
It wasn't about the sex. It was
It
about
wasn't
love.
about
it was
that
about
at
the
all.
nature of
Oh,
love
absolutely.
Who
And
should
of course,
read this book?
everybody should read this book.
and how. Yeah, absolutely.
People like
Absolutely.
Michael and people like me.
Perhaps not people
Read
like
it.
me.
I generally seem to read books about really kind of tragic, desperate characters, and I don't want to be any of them.
I've always had a sick fascination with the Nazgul, the ring wraiths out of Lord of the Rings. So I'd probably say maybe The Witch King.
Any of the Witches books by Terry Pratchett, in which case I think I'd make a damn fine Nanny Og.
And if you ever dreamed of being an elite athlete, Gold by Chris Cleave is a book for you. This is a book about elite Olympic sprint cyclists. The gold refers to gold at the Olympics, and we enter this book in Athens with Zoe, who is waiting with her coach to go out for the finals. Then back in London, you've got Kate. And Kate is with the daughter, Sophie. She used to be sort of up there with her number 1 and 2 in the world, but she's doing the Olympic marathon of parenting. It's about a love triangle between Zoe, Kate, Jack, who is also a elite athlete, sprint cyclist, and then we pick up the story, London Olympics, April 2012. Sophie has been diagnosed with leukemia, has chemotherapy. I found the book kind of really tautly written. And I mean, what Chris Cleave is really, really good at in his previous books, you know, Incendiary and The Other Hand, is about the feeling.
I'd never read him before, and novels about sports are not that common, and I didn't know how I would feel about this. It was like watching the you're watching the Tour de France, and you realise that you're sitting there pedalling, and I was doing that while I was reading the book. It's devastatingly sad. It's funny.
I think he
Star
does
Wars
sad
obsession.
really well. I liked Incendiary more than I liked Gold, I've got to say. You know, it lost me a little bit. I enjoyed it, but it probably wasn't my favourite book today.
This is the best thing I've read in ages. Felt like I was, you know, being taken for a ride by someone who was absolutely in control of his material.
It's all about black and white, win or lose, at every single turn, even to life and death with Sophie and leukemia.
What sacrifices do you have to make to be at that level?
What sort of mindset?
What drives you?
What obsessions?
I mean, just how normal they are. The humanity.
Oh, the humanity, and that's what I love about his writing. It's always
Absolutely.
deeply human. Really,
Sad and funny.
it is, and I'm really pleased you like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Picture of Dorian Gray, but I would like to be a fly in the wall. Certainly not necessarily a character in it, because it could get quite dangerous.
The Great Gatsby, and I'd like to be the narrator.
I'd quite like to be in Jane Eyre, as Jane Eyre, partly because I've got a massive crush on Mr. Rochester.
And speaking of crushes, I mean, I'd like to be Jack Reacher's love interest in The Next Lead Child.
Michael?
Winnie the Pooh. I mean, life is just so simple.
This was a difficult one for me. I thought Edward from Twilight, but then I thought no, Bond, James Bond.
Shaken, not stirred. Yeah. And just before we go, a couple of things that are out now. The Lady in Gold, the extraordinary tale of Gustav Klimt's masterwork, the portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer by Anne-Marie O'Connor. It's the story of the painting, it's a social history, it's Vienna at the turn of the century, Nazi Germany and the taking of paintings and wealth. It's fantastic. And Allen and Unwin are bringing out their House of Books. What that is a library of Australian authors, so that Australian authors and books will never, ever go out of print. And it's available on e-books, print on demand. They've got some fantastic authors there already. Dymphia Cusack, Ashley, Blanche Dalpouget.
Miles Franklin.
Yes, Douglas Stewart. Terrific. A terrific list of books.
Well, that'll keep you busy for some time.
Yes.
Until next time.
Can't wait.